Welcome to class today. I am Lori Whitlock and I'm here broadcasting live from the Silhouette headquarters in Linden, Utah. I'm excited to be joining you all for this Michael's class, and we're going to be putting together a really cute Mother's Day project. So we're just going to wait just a few minutes while everybody's gathering, and while we're waiting, let's just have a little. Oh, okay.
Whenever.
Sounds like let's just take a minute. Where's everybody from? We've got a moderator here telling me what you're typing in. So let me know where you're from. We've got Mother's Day coming up here in a couple weeks. So we're getting ready to make some Mother's Day cards today, Mother's Day project together. So we got people coming in now, McKenna?
Yep, we've got lots of people. You have Michigan, Ohio, Hawaii, Colombia.
Oh, nice.
Sweden.
All right. Yeah. Michigan. Say hi, everybody. Sweden, Hawaii. That's so fun. So I guess we're going to get started. We've got people here. So today we're going to be putting together an adorable little Mother's Day project. It's a gift card holder. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a little purse-shaped gift card holder. It's got a little insert that holds a gift card just perfectly. So we're going to be using our Silhouette to do that. And you're going to need to go download a file to get started on this project. It is file number 128654. So go to the Silhouette Design Store and download that file before we get started with class today. I'll put that up on my screen here in just a minute to remind you, but it's 128654. And we'll put that in the chat. You can take a peek at that number. SilhouetteDesignStore.com, and then grab that file. So that's what we'll be working with. You'll also want to grab some paper and get ready to cut with me as well. But just by way of introduction, I'm Lori Whitlock, and I'm broadcasting live from the Silhouette headquarters in Linden, Utah. And I'm really excited that Silhouette and Michael's have invited me to come and be with you today and teach this class. We've got Mother's Day coming up here in a couple of weeks, and so it's time to start crafting for Mom. So what better way to show Mom that you love her than to give her a fun gift card? And what better way to do it than with a darling little gift card holder? And purses are so cute, and flowers are fun to make with your Silhouette. So let's get started on our project. So let's see, let's go into my screen real quick. And I'm going to show you what the file we'll be making. Okay, is everybody able to see that? So this is what the project's going to look like when we're done. And it's design ID 128654. So from the software, you can just go up to the store icon. That's going to launch the Silhouette store. And you can see that all of Mother's Day is on sale, but the file we're using today is actually free to use. So 128654, you can just type that in here in the search bar and then go right to the file. So you can click on that file and you can just go ahead and add it to your cart and download it. I've already done that, so my button just says download, but you would need to go through the checkout process to grab that file, and then that will automatically load into your Silhouette library. So once you do that, you're going to go over to Silhouette again, and instead of clicking on the store tab, you're going to click on the library tab. And if you'll type in gift card purse, you'll be able to find that file that you just downloaded, and you'll be able to bring that up on your screen. So I'm actually going to delete that back off of my screen and go to my next tab here and just show you. This is what the file looks like when you open it up directly from the store. And if you'll notice on the card or the project we'll be making, there's a little tag here that says Mom and has this little flaggy shape. And that is not included in the file. So I'm going to be teaching you today how to make that piece. And we're going to be using an accessory for the Silhouette that you can purchase at Michael's. It's a pen holder. So we'll be using a pen in the pen holder to sketch the word Mom onto this tag. So this is just a fun way to customize or add a little bit of detail to a project that you might download from the Silhouette store. And it might seem like it's something hard to do, but it's actually really easy, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It'll help as you're trying to customize projects in the future. So let's go ahead and get started cutting things out. So what I like to do when I open the file is I like to recolorize everything so that I know what color I'm going to be cutting it out of. So if you'll take a look at our project, I didn't cut this out of all of the colors that you see here, like the red base. I actually cut that out of a teal color. So I like to take these pieces and just open up the color palette over here on the right hand side and just colorize the pieces the way I want to cut them. I'm going to cut that insert out of teal as well, so I'm just going to go ahead and colorize that teal. And actually these two covering panels here, I'm going to cut one out of a polka dot paper and one out of a stripe paper so that you can see how that looks on the purse. The example that I showed you today in our project actually has it cut out of a polka dot. The one that I brought physically and showed you a little earlier has it cut out of a floral. So let's just go ahead and colorize those pieces so we can remember what we want to cut those out of. And I am going to cut the flower out of a red, so we'll leave that red, and the center out of yellow, so we'll leave that yellow, and the leaf will be green. So we'll go ahead and leave that green. So now we need to draw our cute little mom tag. So this is what it's going to look like when we're done. But there's not just a button that you push that makes all of that. We have to actually design it in the software using the tools. So I'm going to use a tool over here on the left-hand side under Drawing Tools. I'm going to use this rectangle tool. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see closer what I'm doing. I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and just so you know, there's two ways to do everything, or more, multiple ways actually, but this is one way to draw this tag, but this is the way that I think is probably the easiest. I'm just going to draw my little rectangle, and then I'm going to use a command and an arrow down to make a duplicate right below that piece. And there's another way to do that as well. I'll just show you the other way. If you don't remember that short key, which is command and arrow down, or control and arrow down if you're on a PC, you can go over to your replicate tool and just do a duplicate below, and that works as well. So once you have those two pieces, then I'm just going to weld them together. And if they don't weld right away, I just grab one of them and use my arrow key on my computer keyboard and just arrow that up a little till they overlap, and try welding again, and those will weld together. And then if you double click, you can see the edit points, and I just like to grab that one little point and use my arrow key on my keyboard to push that little flag in. So now you can see we have our cute little shape that we need for our mom tag. And I'm going to show you one other way to do this, just because some people like to do it this way, and other people might find it easier to do it this way. If you'll go over to your star over here on the left, it's a tool that has a lot of different shapes hidden underneath it. This is a feature that's been added to the newest software, which I love. Cute little shapes. But you can go ahead and grab this arrow looking shape, and you can just draw a little piece that looks like that. And I'm going to flip it around using the little green handle at the top, and if you'll hold your shift key down while you do that, that'll constrain it to 90-degree angles, and you can get it flipped the right way. And if you want to get rid of this little point over here on the left, I'm just going to scale this all up a little bit and even zoom in a little more for you here. If you want to get rid of that point on the left, I can't get to my edit points until I go up to Object and then release that compound path. So now I can double click on it, and then you can click on that one edit point there, and then it'll bring up your point editing tool on the right hand side, and you can click delete point and get rid of that little piece there. So that's another way to make your little flag container shape. So hopefully that all makes sense. Just to remind you, you can either use the tool here on the left and create the flag with this piece, or you can use your rectangle and draw two rectangles and put them next to each other and then weld them, and then double click to get edit points and scoot that end in. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to everyone. If for some reason you're having difficulty following along on this part, be aware that this video will be recorded and live or replayable on the Michaels YouTube channel. So you can go back and rewatch this part if this is a little confusing to you. You could also just draw a rectangle to be your container if you're having a hard time making the flag shape. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these extra pieces for now. And we basically have our tag ready to go, but we need to get our mom in that tag. So I'm actually going to keep one of these. So to get the mom sketch type in the middle of our tag, we just need to grab our text tool here on the left. And I'm just going to put down my cursor and type MOM for mom. And I'm going to double click that and just grab it. And I obviously don't want it to sketch bubble letters like this. I want it to be a cute sketch font. And in the Silhouette store, you'll find a lot of sketch fonts. Today we're going to be using one that I designed that is called LW Favorite Sketch, right up here at the top if you can see that. So you can use any font that you have, and if you want it to look like bubble letters, but it will be aware as it sketches, it will actually trace around each of these letters. It's not going to go right in the middle like this one is. So you have to have a sketch font that's made for sketching in order to get it to do just a single line. So let's open up our type panel over on the right hand side, and we'll go to LW Favorite. Let's just scroll down. See, here's another one called Jordan Sketch. Favorite Sketch right here. So you can see that changes my font to the font that we want for this project. So I'm going to just scale that down and put that in our little flag container. So we have our tag ready to go. So now we're going to start cutting out all of our pieces, and I think we'll do the sketching last. We'll go ahead and start out with the easy pieces. We'll go ahead and cut out our main teal pieces and all of our other smaller pieces. So let's go, here's our main card base. And you can, depending on what machine you're using, just be aware that you can use the CAMEO or the portrait to cut this. You'll just need to be aware of the size of paper that you're putting on your mat and have your mat set up to the correct size. So I am cutting on a CAMEO today, which, by the way, Michaels has both the black and the white CAMEO in stock, and they also have the portrait. And you can do this project on all three of those machines, or well, both of those machines, the black and the white CAMEO. CAMEO 4, and on the portrait they all have the sketch feature. They all will cut. You just need to, like I mentioned, be aware of the size of paper. So if you were using a smaller machine, you would just have to cut on probably 8.5 by 11 paper, but I have the CAMEO, so I'm going to use the 12 by 12. So we're just going to go ahead and take those two pieces and set them up here, and I'm going to go to the Sin panel and just need to make sure that we have our red cut lines are on, and if they're not, you need to select those pieces and make sure you turn them to cut, and then make sure you have the material set up. The last thing I was cutting was a smooth heat transfer, so that's my setting that's right now. I've got to move back up and go to a cardstock, and I'm going to use a textured heavy cardstock setting. That gives me a blade of 3 and a force of 30 and a speed of 4. And I'm ready to load my paper into my CAMEO. So I'm just going to stop screen sharing with you for a minute, and we're going to go over to our machine. And I've got my teal colored 12 by 12 on my mat ready to go, and I'm just going to line that up with the arrows on the left of my machine and just go ahead and load that into the machine. And in the software, I'm just going to go ahead and hit send. Okay, while that's cutting out, I am going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and set up our next cut to cut on this mat. So I've got a covering panel here, a covering panel here. The center of my flower is going to go here, and then my red flower is going to go down here. So let's go back into the software real quick.
Lori, we have a question.
Yes.
Someone is wondering, in the Send tab, what does cut edge mean?
Okay, So that's a really good question. Somebody's asking in the sin panel, what does cut edge mean? And cut edge, let me just grab this piece right here and choose cut edge. So this one actually is going to go ahead and cut those score marks, but anything that's not part of the compound path is going to cut, it will only cut around the outside edge. So let me show you a quick example so you can see it real quick. Gotta get this, I can't get to the window I need, hold on, sorry. I've got to get this black thing out of my way up here. There we go. This bar was in my way. Okay, back into the software here, over into design. This is a good example. We're not ready to do this piece yet, but I'm just going to show you real quick on the sin panel. This is set up to cut right now, and then if I change it to cut edge, it would only cut the container and not the mom through the middle. So it only sees the outer edges of a shape. So if you notice how this has a little circle in it, and I hit cut edge, this is a compound path, so it's still going to cut this little circle out of the middle. So that's the difference. It's not going to make any difference on a shape that has a compound path with it, but on a shape that has two things layered together, when you choose cut edge, it's only going to see the outer edge of the largest piece that you're cutting. So hopefully that answers that question. But there are times that you do want to use the cut edge. If you're making stickers or something like that, it's super helpful. But on pieces that have compound paths, it won't matter. You'll see the cut lines that are planning to cut, so you'll know which ones are going to cut. Okay, let's go back over to, and you guys feel free to ask questions. We do have a moderator here, and I'm happy to answer any questions as we go along. So we're going to go ahead and get set up with our covering panels for our little purse gift card holder and our center of our flower and our flower. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the Sin tab. And you can see all the red cut lines are turned on just the way I want them. And again, I need to change my material to the cardstock heavy. And we've got it on cut. And I'm going to go over to, stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go over to my machine real quick. We're going to test this cut. And it cut out beautifully. I always recommend testing it before you unload it because you can always send it again. But that did cut out beautifully. So I'll unload that here in just a moment, but let's go ahead and load our next cut. So I've got my covering panels, my center of my flower, and my flower ready to go. And we'll just go ahead and load that into our CAMEO. And I'm going to go ahead and hit send. So if you've noticed, this is a great way to cut out more than one color at a time by setting them up in the different corners of your mat. So you don't have to send this 4 different passes. You can do it all in one pass. So while that's cutting, let's go ahead and remove these pieces from the mat. So one thing I like to do when I'm taking pieces off the mat is just flip my mat over, hold my pieces nice and flat on the table. And that'll keep my pieces from curling. The other thing that's helpful is if you have a light grip mat, or maybe when you're cutting cardstock, it's helpful to have a slightly seasoned mat, one that's been used a little bit. Okay, so we have all the pieces off of there that we need. Okay, so there's our base and there's our insert. And then we're just going to test these real quick and make sure that these have cut all the way through, and they have. So I'm going to go ahead and unload that. And we'll go ahead and take all of these pieces off as well. So yeah, when you're cutting cardstock, just make sure that your mat, if it's super sticky, sometimes it's harder to get the cardstock off, especially smaller pieces. So I like to use a little bit seasoned mat, maybe cut it vinyl or other things on it at first, and then, or maybe larger pieces of cardstock, and then the mat's perfect for cardstock after that. Okay, let's pull that.
Lori, we have another question from Sharon.
Yes.
And they're wondering, when sending all the pieces to cut at one time, will the machine read and detect that the papers have been placed in different locations, or will I have to tell it?
So if you noticed how I loaded my paper on the mat, I had them in different corners. I had to actually put them in the right positions in the software. So the software is not going to go detect where you put them. You have to tell the machine where you want them to cut. So let's go back into the software real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner, I've got this covering panel for our gift card holder, and that's where I placed a 6x6 piece of cardstock up in this left-hand corner, and then I placed another 6x6 piece of cardstock in the lower left-hand corner. And just to kind of show you, sometimes it's even helpful to draw a box. Like sometimes I draw a 6x6 just so I know that my paper is plenty big to fit that piece. And then I know that my paper is big enough to fit this piece, and then I put a 2x2 up in this corner of the yellow. So yes, you do have to calculate. And a couple of tools that might be helpful for you as you're doing that, up here in your page setup window, there's on your second tab over, there's this show grid that you can turn off and on, and it gives you the measurements so that you can see, you know, this is 2 inches square here. You can also, if you have the designer edition or above, you can pull down a guide mark that can help you see where those marks are as well. So if you're trying to get in that 2-inch space, those guide marks can kind of help you. The other thing you can do if you don't like the grid marks I was showing, if that's a little too confusing, you can turn those off. Go back to your page setup on that first tab, and if you notice there's this transparency right here, you can just slide that up and then you can make the mat visible. So these grid marks on this screen correspond to the grid marks on your mat exactly, and that's really helpful as well. So yes, you do kind of have to plan exactly where that paper is going to go when you choose to cut more than one color at a time. That was a great question. Any other questions?
Just to follow up with that, so your media size is 12 by 12, right? So
that is right.
The machine will cut it.
Yeah, so if I were to change my media size here to say 6x6, let's 6. Okay, you can see the red cut line here. This is going to be the boundary in which the machine will cut. It's not going to cut these other pieces. So if you change media size, all that would cut in this pass would be this left top corner covering panel. So when I'm cutting multiple colors, I don't typically change the media size. I leave it to 12 by 12 and I just map out and plan for each little section that I'm going to be cutting in. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so if there's any other questions, please feel free to ask away.
We just have one more. We were just wondering if you can show us how to show the grid lines one more time.
Okay, to find the grid lines, there's a lot within the page setup panel. This transparency slider will allow you to show the mat. So these, like I said, these 1-inch marks match exactly on the mat, the physical mat that you'll load into the machine. And on the second tab over, the grid settings here, you'll see that there's a show grid, and turn that on and off. Let's see, maybe I need to turn off my transparency so that it will show the grids. So there's our grids. So you can use those two tools in combination in a way that might help you get your mat set up. And I think you can turn this up and down too and show the grids, but as soon as you get to full capacity or opacity, transparency on this setting, you won't see the grids behind. So you'll have to pull that down a little bit to see all the grid lines. Okay, so let's move on to our sketch and cut portion of our project. So the next thing we need to do is set up our little mom to sketch and cut. And this is the fun part. This is where we're going to use our sketch tool. So I'm actually going to sketch and cut this on green. And I want to show you something really quick. I'm going to stop sharing my computer for a moment. Okay, on this example here, if you don't get your sketch pen into the sketch tool just right, your pen will drag. So I just wanted to kind of show you how important it is to get your pen into the tool right. So let me show you the tool real quick. This is what comes with the sketch pen accessory. Oops. So the cool thing about this little accessory, it goes in the CAMEO 4. It's made just for the 4. It's got the little metal plate here on the back, but it's made to hold any pen that you might want to use with your machine. So for instance, I've got just this, I'm not even sure, it's kind of a micron type pen, but you can just slide it into the sketch tool and this unscrews, and there's different housing sizes. So there's a small, medium, and large. I'm using the medium one. They have little tiny S, M, and L on them, but this one's the medium one. I'm just going to load my pen in there, and there's a cap down here at the bottom. I'll take it off so you can see, but the pen will push all the way through this tool. But if you'll put the cap on and push the pen down all the way and then tighten it up, now note it's got to go in all the way to the end so that it will actually sketch, and you don't want it to go farther than the end, because if it does, it will drag, like I showed you on that example. So tighten it up really tight so it'll hold that pen in place, and then you can take the cap off, and then the little tip of the pen is exposed exactly the right amount to sketch. So we're going to take that and load it into our machine. We just take this blade out and go ahead and snap that in. So now we're ready to sketch. So you wouldn't want to leave your pen in there too long with the cap off, or it could dry out. So don't leave it there all the time, but just while you're sketching. So let's go back to our screen. And we've got our little mom and our flaggy shape set up. And then we also have our little leaf here. And we're going to cut this all at once. But the only thing we want to do this pass is sketch the word mom. So I'm going to go to my send panel. And I do want to show you one little thing. This is a little tip when you're sketching. I actually want to show you, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. And we're going to look closely at the little mom flag here. So if you'll notice in this example here, the mom is sketched perfectly. Like there's no extra little blob or mark. But if you'll look closely on this mom, this has a tiny bit of extra ink right here. And this is where the blade will kind of end up, and it sticks there for just a minute before it lifts. So if you're using a felt tip kind of pen, a good little tip is to draw an extra little mark off to the side so that it'll sketch the word mom and go hold on that little mark so that it doesn't get a little extra ink that pools there. And again, that's only if you're using a felt tip type of pen. But so let's go back to my screen real quick, and I'll show you what I did to set that up. So in the design panel here, I'm going to zoom in closely. I'm actually going to turn those grids off so you can see this better. But I'd made just a little tiny mark off to the left-hand side and a little bit below the mom. So it will go over here and sketch mom, and then come over here and make a little mark, and then it can kind of hold down here at the bottom of the mark and then lift. So we won't get any extra felt tip pen soaking into the paper. So now we're ready to go back to send panel. And I need to grab everything and just turn it to no sketch. And then I'm going to grab just the word mom, and you can tell when I have that selected because you'll see this black rectangle around it. You can see if I have that flag, it's around the flag out here. So just grab that word mom and then turn that to sketch. And if you don't see the word sketch, it might say cut. That's because you need to go over to the next column here and change this to sketch. Okay, so once you have that set to sketch and you have the word mom showing up, you're ready to sketch. So we need to load our paper in our machine and then we'll hit send. So let's get our paper loaded really quick. Okay, I've actually got to clean up this mat just a little bit and get it ready for my green paper. So I don't want to cut on this end because I've already used that end. I'm just going to use this up here. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and load that in. And then back into the software real quick. We're just going to go, so we've got everything set up and we don't want to change our force or speed or anything. Just go ahead and hit send. Okay, so you guys, I did one thing. I showed you how to set up that little line and then I forgot to actually add it to my send. So I'm going to do it one more time and I'm going to go ahead and turn this. Let me go back to share my screen real quick. Okay, this little line over here, I need to turn that to sketch as well. And this will actually be good because then we can compare the two. But I'm just going to pull all of this down below where we just sketched. And we'll go ahead and send that one more time. And this time it's going to sketch mom and then the little line. And we'll hit send. Okay, notice how it's doing the word and then the little line and it's holding there on that line. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and cut that out and then we'll look closely at those so you can compare them. Okay, so now that I'm back in the software, I need to just turn all of those to no sketch, and then I want to change these two pieces, and I'm holding down the shift key to select that second piece. So you click the first piece and then shift select the second piece, and then they'll both be selected, and I want to change them to cut, but I'm going to just switch it to sketch for a minute, and then I'm going to come over here and change this to cut. And now you can see it's not going to do anything with the word mom or the little line. It's just going to cut around the outer edge. But before I send it, I've got to change my blade in my machine. So let's go back to our machine real quick. I'm just going to pop out the sketch pen and put in the blade. And then we'll go back over to the software. And we'll go ahead, just make sure you have your cut settings right for the material you're using. I'm going to go ahead and use that textured cardstock setting and go ahead and hit send. Okay, we're just going to test that really quick. Yep, it looks like it cut out beautifully. Our tag looks perfect, and I'm going to go ahead and unload that. Okay, and then if you're able to see this closely, you can just see how it sketched the word mom here. And here's the little line off to the side, and you can see a little pool of ink right there. Instead of pooling over here, which it actually didn't do it very badly at all on this one. But if you're having any issues with that, you can just use this little technique of an extra line. So it's up to you if you want to try and do that. But we'll go ahead and unload these pieces. And go ahead and start putting our project together. So is there any questions about getting all of the pieces cut out?
Some people are saying that when they've tried to use the sketch pen, when they do more than one design, it drags. Do you have any tips on that?
The main tip I could say is make sure that your pen tip isn't going any farther below that cap that was on there. Where's my little cap? So that little cap is the farthest you should push your pen in. So if it goes a little bit farther, or if it's not tight and it scoots down a little farther, it certainly would drag for sure. Just like that example I showed you earlier. So just make sure that it's super tight and make sure it doesn't slip down any lower. That would be my biggest tip.
And then for the extra line, there seems to be a few questions about that one. So did you just put it to the side, like outside of the cut shape? Is that where you put it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, so yeah, if you'll go back to, well, we can go back to the screen. I'll show you on the screen. That might be easier to see. So back to the design screen. I just put it outside of the shape and a little bit below. So you might have to test it if you're having trouble with it making the line. Like if it's up higher, it might draw the line first and then go do the mom. But I've found that if I'll take it just a little bit lower, it'll go do mom and then come and do the little line. So hopefully that helps. But play around with it. You might take just a little bit of practice if you're trying to do a project. Just do a little test and see. Okay. So we're going to start putting our project together. So let me gather up all of our things. I'm going to move the computer out of the way. Okay, we've got lots of pieces ready to go. So let's just get everything organized here. Is it best for me to have it that way? Okay, so there's our example of what we're trying to make. Here's our card base and our insert, and the little insert has little notches in it that are perfectly spaced to hold a gift card. So that cut out perfectly for us, and I've added little round circles to the corners so that they don't tear, which is really nice. So let's just have a couple pieces here we need to pull apart still. But I probably should have had my blade just a tiny bit deeper on that, but it's coming away cleanly, so we're all right. And we are done with these little pieces. Those are just extra pieces to our sketch pen accessory. Okay, we don't need the circles. We got some bonus circles out of that. Okay, so let's take our main card base and just fold that in half. And I like to use a bone folder when I'm paper crafting because it just makes the creases so much nicer. So if you don't have a bone folder, you can use the edge of like a gift card or a credit card or something, or even the edge of a pen or pencil or something can work. And then we just need to put adhesive on those two lines. So this tape runner works great, or you can use a liquid adhesive with a fine tip on it. That works as well. So this is so easy. In fact, if you needed to mass produce these, they'd be really easy to put together. And then we just have our covering panels, and I cut a couple of different ones just so you could kind of see what it would look like out of stripes or what it would look like out of polka dots. We'll just go ahead and glue those on. And again, we have our sample out of floral as well. So you can really get creative on different papers that you use. So yeah, not only do I design cut files for Silhouette, I've been doing that for about 12 years, but I also design paper as well. So a lot of the paper that I use in my samples is paper that I have designed. Okay, go ahead and glue that down, and then we'll flip that over. And look how cute that would be with this pattern as well. So lots of fun combinations you could do. Sometimes I cut out a project and I'm like, oh man, I like the back side even better than the front. So I get creative and start changing things up. So with all of these layers of paper, this is actually really quite sturdy, which is nice. Okay, and then to make the flower, You can do a couple of different things. If you'll notice, these petals kind of curve up, and so do the leaves. And you can use the edge of your bone folder to just kind of curl those. Another fun thing and a cool tool to have is this little stylus with a ball on the end, and you can use that to kind of train the cardstock to curve and curl. And I especially like it for this flower center. I'm going to poke that center out of that flower there. But I think this is really cute on the flower centers because you can just kind of use that stylus to really get that to curl up in there. So this is a great paper crafting tool for making flowers. So depending on how three-dimensional you want this to be, you can make it a little more flat like this one, or you can have it curl up a little more like this one. And just use what you have, but it's kind of fun to collect new paper crafting tools when you really get into it. Okay, so there's our cute little flower. And then our leaf, we've got just added just a little curl to that as well. But if you'll notice, both layers of the flower and the leaf, they all have a hole right through the middle. So super easy to put this flower together with a brad. So you can use a mini brad or a larger brad, whatever you'd like. But you can just pop a brad right through the middle of all of those layers. Or another fun thing that you can use is these epoxy dots. These are really cute as well. If you do use the dots, you'll need to glue those layers together and then just put an epoxy dot in the middle. Look how cute that would be, just with a little dot like that. So either way, today I think I'll go ahead and use the brad. Let's see, where's our brad? Right here. So we've got to layer those together real quick. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get all those lined up just right.
Lori, can you repeat what the tools were that you were talking about, like the bone folder and the other one?
Okay.
And then people wanted to know what kind of brown thing that you're making the flower in.
Okay, so this is basically just a little foam pad, like a mouse pad. So you can look for something like that, but sometimes these little sets of tools come with the little foam pad as well. But this is a stylus. This is an 8mm ball on this end, and this is a 5mm on this end. So let's see, I'm also using the Silhouette scraper tool, or the little spatula. That's super handy for getting things off of the mat. And then I'm using a bone folder, which is a really common tool for just creases and cut when you're paper crafting. So hopefully that all makes sense. Okay, so we've got our little flower. As I put the brad in, I kind of messed up my pretty little bowl shape there on my flower, but you can work with that as you're making yours. Got to open up that brad nice and tight, and then I like to use, oh, of course that little brad's going to break on one half, but it's okay. It'll stick together for us. I'm going to use a glue dot to hold this whole flower down. So I just grab the glue dot and I stick the back of my flower to it. And then we'll just place that here on the front of our gift card holder. And then we have our little mom flag to put in there. And you can just tuck that in there however you want. Again, let's just use another glue dot for that. That'll hold it in there really tight. If you use tape runner, it could slip out. Let's see, I want it to go on the bottom. And we'll just tuck that in there. So cute. So how fun, you could totally put someone's name on that. You can customize it with other words. And then we have our little insert, which I haven't put in there yet. Where's our little insert? Well, we'll just grab one of these over here. Oh, it's under here. Look, it's hiding from me. There we go. There's our insert. And you could cut that out of a contrasting paper as well. Look how cute that is out of green. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for me? Look how cute these are. I think Mom is gonna love this for Mother's Day this year. So easy to make, something fun and pretty for Mom for Mother's Day. No more questions? All right. You guys make sure you go grab your free file out at the Silhouette store. That's free this week while we're doing this Michael's class. You can also go to the Michael's YouTube channel and rewatch this at any time. And please be sure and go check out the Silhouette store and all of the fun Mother's Day designs that there are out there. If we want to take just a minute, I could show you my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in doing some more projects with me, I've got a great resource in my blog and my YouTube channel. Let me just grab my computer real quick. And I'll share my screen with you again. Oh, I've lost the link real quick. Just give me one moment. I'll get this up and going again. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to share my screen right now. We'll have to have the host let me back in there to do that. But if you'll go to, let's see. Yeah, I can't get my screen to go back on right now. So just go to youtube.com/Lori Whitlock and you'll find hundreds of videos that I've got to support my cut files that I have at the Silhouette Design Store. If you want to go check out my files in the Silhouette Design Store, just click on Artists, click on Lori Whitlock, and I've been contributing new files to Silhouette for the past 12 years, so you're going to find a lot of really fun projects out there for Mother's Day, graduation, summer, all sorts of fun projects for this upcoming season. But all throughout the year, we've got Christmas files and birthday and lots of fun 3D projects. And like I said, that YouTube channel will be a really great resource for you to go watch and make projects right along with me. Go grab your CAMEO at or a portrait at Michael's and your supplies, and then come and craft with me online. So please let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer any of those right now. And if not, we will see you in another video. McKenna, do we have anything else?
No.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day and have fun making your Mother's Day projects.